Hi, this is Sara Levin, the Artful Inker. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the United States. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, I've got a trio of hot dog cards to share with you. Let's get started. For today's cards, we're going to use the hot dog stamp set. This is from the January to June Stampin' Up! Mini catalog. And I've got one of the note cards, basic white from the basic white note card and envelope set. You get 20 of the note cards and envelopes in a pack. I'm just using the bone folder to crease that along the score line, and then I've got my got a dimensional stuck to my block. Got my Dachshund here, and then my cinnamon cider ink pad, and I'm just going to take my Dachshund and set him on here. I'm not pushing down on the block, I'm just rubbing my finger over the back of the block so that we pick up the ink. And then let's straighten this up here, and going to center him more or less. Inking that way means that I don't usually make a mess on my cards. Let's move these out of the way. And then I've got my Early Espresso ink pad, and we're going to have his little tail wagging. Okay, and then I'm going to get the paw prints here as if he's just walked onto our card. Okay, let's put this one out of the way and grab my Coastal Cabana ink pad, and we're going to ink up the high here. Oops, that looks just a smidge messy, so let me take my finger, and then we're just going to say high right here. I'm just touching the back since that's a solid stamp. And then we're going to give this a quick little embellishment. We're going to use some of the in color enamel dots, and I've got my Take Your Pick, and that fits perfectly over my little smudgy spot there. And we'll give another couple little, do we want to pair this one? I think we want to pair this one. So, and that's our simple card. And so let me set this aside, and we'll move on to the next one. For the second card, of course, we're using the hot dog stamp set again. And I've got a piece of basic white and my Dachshund stamp. And let's see. This time I won't dip the corner into my ink pad. I'm sure we've all done that. And so I just want to stamp my Dachshund. Make sure he's had time to make contact. Let's close this one up using the Coastal Cabana again, and stamp my sentiment. We'll just pop this over here. Okay, and then you're going to take your paper snips and cut these out. Now, I've already done that. So here and here, we'll move this out of the way, and we're basically ready to put this together. So I'm going to place my Dachshund over my piece of basic white that I've cut with a stitched rectangle, and we're going to finish our stamping. Let me grab my Early Espresso ink pad and make sure I've left room for my sentiment. And we want to wag this guy's tail just like we did on the basic card. So hold my cut dachshund and give that a rub. And then I also want the little paw prints trailing onto the card. So we're going to stamp them right out here at the edge. Okay, let's close up our ink pad and put this card together. So we're going to start with dimensionals behind our dachshund. And of course, this is just a lightly stepped up version of the first card. Okay, let's pull these off and put our dachshund back in here near our pieces that we've stamped there. And then add a dimensional to our sentiment. And just by adding some dimension with these popped up bits, we've stepped up our card. But there's more. So I've got a piece of the Misty Moonlight in color designer paper, and this is cut to 4 by 5 1/4, and I'm going to add a piece of tear-in tape across here, center-ish. Let's just pull that off and give it a quick burnish with my bone folder so that then that peels off quite easily. And I'm going to add, just for some more texture, a piece of the Misty Moonlight in color ribbon. Don't pull your ribbon too tight. Lay it down on there. If you pull it, you're going to cause the layer to buckle, and that's not highly attractive. Okay, and then just rub that on. And then we just need to trim that. I do prefer to trim after I've laid it down. That way I've got no gaps in case I'm just a little bit short. Okay, let's move that out of the way. And then we're going to add this layer to a thick basic white card base. And it's cut to the standard 5 1/2 by 8 1/2 and scored at 4 1/4. And we're gluing this piece directly to our card base. And then we're going to add dimensionals to this piece. And we've quickly and easily taken this card from the simple stamping beginner card to a casual crafter card. So let me clean up, set this aside, and we'll move on to card 3. So once again, we're using the hot dog stamp from the January to June Stampin' Up! Mini Catalog. I've got my piece of basic white, and I'm going to start with my early espresso and the dachshund. Now we're just stepping this card up a little further than the last one. The tail didn't look like it was picking up any ink. And we're just going to give this a rub and then set this out of the way and close this up for the time being. And then I want my Coastal Cabana. Let's open that up. And I want 2 balloons. Okay. And then I want the sentiment. We're using the same sentiment that we've used all along. I do love a good speech bubble. Okay, And now we're ready for some coloring. We're going to use Stampin' Blends. So let me zoom in here so that you can see better what I'm doing. And we're going to start with our pup here. And these are the cinnamon cider blends, the light and the dark. And I just want to start by adding a little dark here and along here and on around the ear. Now remember, you don't want to lay down too much of any color, any light or dark, at one time. You don't want it to get dry on you before you've had a chance to blend. And then let's come on down here across his chest with the dark, and then we're going to blend out with the light. And even though it's not shadowed, I'm going to come across his back with the dark. That will help give him some shape. And then across the belly here with the dark. And then I want to do along this foot. And then fill with the light. And then this back foot is going to be totally with the dark. And just carefully dabbing that in so that you don't bleed outside the lines. So we want to go dark here and dark here. And we're going to come right on down into the paw. Okay. And I'm just trying to accentuate some of the shape by adding another layer of color. Pardon me while I cough. And then come down here with the dark. And again, just dotting it in carefully. You may want to use the bullet tip. And then I'm just going to do the ear. One layer of color with the light so that it stands out from the rest of the dog. Okay, let's cap these up and do our balloons. Make sure I didn't just move that out of camera. And I'm using light Bermuda Bay and then dark and light Pool Party. So I'm going to start with this one and just pull a little bit of dark. You'll notice that I'm doing kind of a jagged line when I add that. It's actually a little easier to blend than if you do a hard straight line. And then this is the dark Pool Party, just bringing some of that across. And then finally, with the light Pool Party, we can really get this blending. And you have to come across that a couple of times to blend those two darker shades. And then I'm leaving a little lightish spot here, which helps to add some shape to our balloon. So I'm going to color this and cut all of these out, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've got our colored pieces that I've cut out, and then the thing I forgot to stamp on camera is this little string kind of bow piece. Let's pull this out where you can see that. And we're going to start by adding this to our dachshund. Only adding glue to this tiny bit at the front. This back bit will get dimensionals. Let's grab my dimensionals here. And we're going to put a mini on this bow area, string bow. Actually, I think I'm going to need to cut that in half so that it's not sticking out beyond. There we go. Okay. So let's move these pieces aside and start and assemble some of our card pieces. I've got the thick basic white for our card base at 5.5 by 8.5, and then I've got a piece of basic white that's 5 by 4.25, and then this piece of the Misty Moonlight in color designer paper that is 2 by 5.25. And we're just going to leave a little bit of border down at the bottom. It adds a little bit of visual interest that way. And then let's go ahead and add our tear and tape right here at the seam. Give that a tear. And then let's grab my bone folder here and give that a burnish. And let's zoom back out as we finish this up. Okay. And take our Misty Moonlight ribbon. Let me just flip that piece of tear and tape back around the front and make sure, yep, right at the edge there. And again, when you put your ribbon down, do not pull it tight. Just lay it down so that you're not causing your cardstock to buckle. Okay. And take these pieces out of the way. And then we're going to layer this up. Grab my dimensionals here. And I see I'm over just a little bit, so I'll take my snips as soon as I've got my dimensionals on and trim up that little bit of overhang. And let's do that right now before I go any further. You just use the edge of the card as your guide. Here we go. Take this out of the way, move my snips out of the way. Okay. And that. Now, again, I've got my piece of basic white cut with the stitched rectangle die. And sometimes stepping up a card is just a matter of adding more layers for more visual interest. It's not hard techniques or complicated techniques. So let's add this in here. And then just as before, I want to hold my dachshund in place here. And we're going to add paws and paw prints, rather. And the tail wag. I love those little details. So I'm going to hold him and do that. And ink up those little paws and make sure I've got them headed in the right direction. Oop. I don't seem to be getting enough ink on them. Okay, so they're trailing in. Let's go ahead and put this guy down then. Okay, and close up this ink pad before I dip something into it, hands or otherwise. Now we've got our 2 balloons here, and I want to overlap their strings at the bottom and the balloons at the top. So let me add just a dab of glue down here at the bottom of the strings. And you'll notice when I cut them out, I did give them some extra white border. If you cut them too close, it really does make them hard to work with. Now, I want mini dimensionals just up here at the very top of each of these balloons. Oops, stuck the dimensional to my fingernail. Have you ever done that? Okay. And then we're going to pull that glue and add a little bit on the strings here. And I'm rubbing it out with the point so that I don't have enough on there that when I press it down that it's going to squeeze out past the balloons. Okay. And then our dimensionals just help to hold that up at the top. And then let's add a dimensional here behind our sentiment. And we need a little bit of shadow under our dog here. So I'm going to use my dark smoky slate and pick some of that up with my color lifter. Let me just, and we're going to ground our pup here. Okay, and there's our Avid card. We've just added more layers and a couple more techniques. Let's finish our envelope and we'll truly be finished with this card. So I've got one of the basic white envelopes and my Stampin' Seal Plus. And I'm using the plus because this is going to go through the mail. So extra handling. And this is just a 2-inch piece, so I find while that is not going to completely cover our flap on our envelope, it covers most of it. We just want to leave a little border here, and it's a great way to use. I often end up with a 2-inch strip left, so this helps me to use all of my scrap pieces. And we're just going to use the edge of the envelope and cut around. Now, if you watch many of my videos, you know I usually use the multi-purpose glue for everything. But the reason for using the Seal Plus is because it's dry and won't cause the flap on the envelope to rumple. So it's a thinner paper than our cardstock. So there we have our pretty flap and our card. And that's it. Thank you for stopping today for the trio of hot dog cards. You can purchase today's Stampin' Up! Supplies using the link in my description below if you're in the U.S. Give this video a thumbs up, and you can subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the bell if you'd like to be notified the next time I upload a video. Have a great day. Bye.